Hey Agaho guys, I am super excited today because this is the last game I have to play on Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, and I'm super hyped about that. But it is also the GBA Season 6 League Championship game, so I'm sure most other people are more so hyped for that. We have the champions of the Silver and Blue divisions respectively, the Utah Jasmine and the San Francisco Arcaniners, the only, I believe, representative of their divisions to make it to the playoffs to begin with, as the wild cards in both conferences went to the other division. Both of the wild cards did, so that's kind of cool. It's also cool because Blue and Silver were my preferred games of first and second gen, so that works out pretty nicely as well. And yeah, Georgia is making it back to the finals for the second year in a row. And there's some like crazy like voodoo talk going on, and you know, this is apparently the pattern that's been established by A-Drive winning it last season after making it to the finals in Season 4. We just had a voice crack there, and this is also the duel of the GBA's two most noteworthy verbal tics or speech impediments, whatever you want to call them. We got the voice cracks of Cooper versus the stuttering of George. Which one will reign supreme? Whoever wins is going to have to give a rather awkward victory speech, so there's that to look forward to at the end of the video on one of the videos, maybe. But yeah, George's team is really good. He made some incredible trades that in my opinion were all heavily in his favor, and yeah, shored up that team for the make a playoff run, and here he is. So this is I think this is actually the first time in this is the most fun I have had preparing for a GBA game in the 4 seasons I've been a part of it. And I think this is actually the first time that I kind of looked at this team and I'm like, well, I can't prep for everything. Generally what I do, some coaches like to prep, pick like 6, maybe 7 things and really tailor their team to that. I don't do that. I look at all 11 and have contingencies for all 11 so that I'm not surprised by anything that shows up. I kind of couldn't do that this week. It was going to spread us too thin to the point that like my answers to things that were brought were just not going to be enough whatsoever. So we did kind of have to tailor the prep a little bit this week, and big shout outs to my Diamond brothers, Makar and Cayman, who've been helping me out, here and there all year. It's about as close to a quote-unquote front office as it gets, is 2 guys who don't actually actively play 6th gen. They just have sound 4th gen fundamentals and general knowledge of stuff. So that has pretty much been the D-Bros that we have been building with all year, here and there. It's been if nothing else, it's been really cool to to be able to share the experience. I think it's less so I need help building teams, and more so it's fun to share the experience of the GBA and building with those guys. So major shout out to them for helping us get as far as we have right here. And we got Georgia's team right here. We got Electabuzz, Gardevoir, Forretress, Manaphy, Mega Beedrill, and Infernape. So that means we have not appearing Sceptile, Spiritomb, and Snorlax. We kind of thought were going to be like, Sceptile's actually kind of sneakily decent against my team, since I don't have a great, I guess I did bring 2 of my grass resists, but I still kind of don't necessarily want to take leaf storms with people. So Sceptile, glad to see that not brought. Spiritomb, while it shuts down Mega Gallade, is not that great versus everything else. And then Snorlax, I do have Mega Gallade 4 as well as Staraptor, who can bludgeon it with Close Combat too. And also one of the sets we're bringing actually completely shuts Snorlax down, I believe. So, but then Mamoswine and Nidoqueen not appearing. So those were definitely 2 things that kind of had to be prepped for. It's not like I'm going to sit here and not prepare for Mamoswine and Nidoqueen. So they are not brought. We have the Electabuzz, which, I was thinking, I think it was one of the games against Fizz, there was Volt turning all over the place. If there was one strategy I didn't want to lose to, it was just rampant Volt turn. Kind of like how the Red Sox beat the Deoxys in the Season 2 Kanto Conference Championship game. That was like the main strategy I did not want to lose to. But there's hazard stacking, there's just Manaphy going ham, there's Infernape that could do all sorts of things, even just like a CB Flare Blitz slices through my team like a knife through hot butter, etc., etc. So way too many things that could possibly beat me to be able to fully account for everything. So we kind of have some things accounted for, and as best we could get it. Anyway, we will go ahead and take a look now and see what we got going on here. So, we got Sableye coming again, and we have, yeah, Prankster works on all 4 of its moves, guys. Sableye has an ability called Prankster, and all of, you know, you can make a move set where it works on all the moves. I don't understand why people have this preconceived notion that that's some awful, terrible, non-competitive thing. But anyway, we do have Taunt and Will-O-Wisp. Taunt is here to shut down a couple of things. The primary thing is going to be if I see Fori, which I do. Gonna go ahead and lead out with it and probably Taunt if I see Fori, even though it's most likely gonna Volt Switch, predicting a Taunt. Just try to keep hazards from coming up. I'm really afraid of Toxic Spike specifically. That's gonna be a massive pain, even though it doesn't really make sense to bring Toxic Spikes because it affects so few things on the team, but go figure, I brought 3 of the things that are affected by it. I think there's 1 more thing that is affected by it, and because Clefable has Unaware. So, we got Will-O-Wisp because nothing really wants to take a Wisp except for Ape. And for Ape, I kind of got a secret weapon that I have brought 2 times before this season that I haven't actually gotten to use, and in fact, I don't think Sableye hit the field in either of those games. So, maybe this time it will get some use, and of course we have Recover. It's mostly especially defensive. It can actually, theoretically, 1v1 Manaphy, so that's kind of cool. You know, Taunt to prevent the Tail Glow from happening, so that's kind of a neat thing. And yeah, so Fable, we decided to go Kebia Berry, as I thought, you know what, at some point I'm gonna need to take like a Sludge Wave from Nidoqueen, Poison Jab from Mega Beedrill, maybe even a Gunk Shot from Infernape, and conveniently all 3 of those things are weak to Psychic, so I went Psyshock over Psychic because Mega Beedrill has lower physical defense. And then the other thing was this is Unaware Clefable, so obviously that's going to be there to try to curtail a Tail Glow Manaphy. Last time against Manaphy in Week 2, we decided, you know what, I'm just going to chance it that he's not going to bring Tail Glow, and he brought Tail Glow when we brought Magic Guard, and that was not good, so... And then the further struggle that was had was that Moonlight is bad in the rain, and I thought, you know what, Unaware Clefable is still probably going to lose out to a Manaphy that is casting Rain, because... Yeah, especially like if it's Rain Rest, like we're not going to get anywhere. Burns are going to proc, and you know with the Rain boost too, it's going to eventually wear Fable down too much. Moonlight can't recover enough. Wish doesn't take, you know, it takes too long. I don't really have the extra move slot for Protect. Even if I did, Skull Burns are going to become a major deal, so problematic there. And so my answer to that was, you know what, let's just have Moonlight, and then if he does have Rain, we're going to bring Thunder and whack him a little bit harder and maybe get that Paraproc. Which, if it's raining, obviously hydration is going to clear it off. But, you know, if rain happens to end, maybe we can keep it paralyzed, hit it with 2 in a row. Something like that. Creates opportunities, you know, kind of funny, and, you know, just turning the rain against him in whatever way we can. And then also we ended up throwing rocks on there as well. Thought about Healing Wish, but it's kind of difficult to time. I've usually lost Fable early, so if I do that, I don't really want to, you know, ever have to click Healing Wish. So... Mega Gallade is coming again. I don't know why I said again, because he has not come very often this year. You'll find out why that is in a video coming up next week. We are Jolly Max Speed. That is just to make sure we at least speed tie with Gardevoir and Mamoswine, because I gotta get that Mega Evolution off. We got Close Combat, which is pretty much an all-in offensive Mega Gallade. Close Combat, Zen Headbutt, Leaf Blade, and Shadow Sneak. Leaf Blade there, mostly to hit Manaphy while not slicing my defenses, because if I've got a decent amount of life, you know, I can hit the Manaphy and, you know, be able to live something like a Scald, hopefully don't get burned, and go from there. Shadow Sneak ended up being brought because Scarf Gardevoir was a major concern, as it kind of tears through a lot of stuff in the team. The Empoleon you see there was actually the last thing that got added. So before that was, I think, a Claydol. That's right, I was actually about to bring Claydol to the championship game. If only to bring Claydol again to a championship game would be rather funny. But yeah, it's pretty much Gallade. It outspeeds a lot of stuff. It is an instant, you know, answer to Infernape, as I doubt it's going to be Scarfed. So there's that. Speaking of Scarf, we have Scarf Raptor, because it's going to be an easy answer to Mega Beedrill. You know, we'll make sure that if it ever does take a kill and actually stays in, we can immediately, you know, threaten it out. And Brave Bird does a tremendous amount of damage. I believe his only Brave Bird resist is Electabuzz, though that's not going to take it that well. And, you know, there is, of course, Forretress and Spiritomb who have the raw stats to take it well enough. And no crazy moves, just Brave Bird, CC, U-turn, and Quick Attack, just because Infernape is almost certainly going to pack Vacuum Wave, which is the reason you don't see Aggron, because it doesn't matter if I have a Rock Polish up going on a sweet, Vacuum Wave is going to, you know, do the thing. So it's either going to be Vacuum Wave or like an Iron Fist Mach Punch. Either way, you know, we don't want to take Powerful 8 priority if we can avoid it, so just don't expect to use Quick Attack, but we might. And actually, let's skip to Weezing. Let's skip to Weezing because he was not the last one added in. So Weezing's here mostly as a Mamoswine answer. You know, floats over the EQ, and then enough physical defense to take Icicle Crash. It's certainly not going to enjoy it. It's still going to do like 40-ish% with our EV spread. But we do have Will-O-Wisp to make it not want to stay in. Hopefully it doesn't bring like a sub-Mamo. We got Pain Split to try to get some life back. T-Bolt so that Manaphy isn't completely for free. And then finally, I only had one open move slot, and like Fire Blast kind of would have made sense for Fori and Mega Beedrill, but those things are not staying in, so what's really the point of having it? You know, Mega Beedrill's going to U-turn, Fori's just going to outright switch. So in the end I decided, you know what, let's just bring Psywave again, which is the Mr. Hides move from, yeah, the first week of the playoffs. We also brought that. I think I already mentioned probably in some of the comments how much I love Psywave because it has the benefits of Seismic Toss without the predictability. Now you can't predict it, sure, but they can't predict it either. So, you know, just throw out that Great Axe D12 and see where some crazy random damage variants can take us, and you know, maybe it'll be good, maybe it'll be bad. Finally, we have Empoleon, which ended up to be Scarfed. So the reason it was Scarfed is because of Mamoswine Nidoqueen, which didn't get brought, as well as Infernape. Although Infernape still has the priority, we're going to have to try to, you know, finagle around. So, it's basically I want another instant answer to Infernape pressure, to Mamoswine pressure, to Nidoqueen pressure. I wanted somebody else I could drop in, potentially Gardevoir as well. We do have Flash Cannon. I don't really want to click it that often, but if need be, then I will. And we also have basically this was also because I wanted some form of Hazard Clear just in case he did bring Hazard Stack, which was why I kind of narrowed it down to, you know, Claydol. Greninja, I was thinking maybe, but then if he brings T-Spikes and Hazard Stack, like, our goose is kind of cooked. Like, Sableye can taunt, but, you know, I can't switch Sableye in and immediately taunt either, so there's that. And the fourth move ended up to be Aqua Jet, mostly because I could see that going on if, like, Ape got, like, a nasty plot or something up, and like at that point it can, you know, kind of tear through things with Vacuum Wave and priority and all that stuff. So, you know, just to have someone who's Scarfed and does have super effective priority, even though it's on the minus stat nature, I felt like in the end was worth it. It was either going to be that or HP Grass or a backup Stealth Rock, but anyway, that's Empoleon. We got dual Scarfers, one of which is kind of expectable. The other one I have ran before, but is not necessarily the most obvious Scarfer, so, you know, one effective Scarfer and one surprise, I guess, Scarfer. And yeah, that's the team. So we got a couple of things in the bag of tricks. The matchup is certainly not the greatest, you know, with Infernape especially being weak to fire, but we're certainly not going to throw in the towel. We're going to throw the kitchen sink, and this is our kitchen sink that we are throwing at George, and see what we can make happen with it. You know, once you make it to the playoffs, anything can happen, and that's still the case right now. Anything can happen. Let's go. So as I said, if there's a Fori I see, we're going to lead out with Sableye to, you know, at least try to prevent hazards coming up. Instead, it wants to be an Electabuzz. So, number one concern with this guy is that he's going to be Scarfed, thereby outspeeding my Staraptor, thereby every time Raptor takes a KO, this thing easily comes in and clicks Volt Switch, and that's just all kinds of bad because we have no way to stop that. So, debating between Will-O-Wisp and Taunt, neither is going to be that great because he's not going to be in at the end of the turn to take the burn damage if he's spamming Volt Switch, and obviously Taunt's not going to be helpful. So in the end I decided, you know what, whatever, we'll just Wisp it, and that ends up to be the wrong one to go for, as he is not a Scarfed Electabuzz, and instead applies a Toxic on my Sableye. And remember that little piece about how theoretically Sableye could 1v1 Manaphy, because Taunt to stop Tail Glow, etc.? That is definitely no longer the case, and Sableye is the number one guy I needed to not have poison. You know, I was fearing Toxic Spikes, even just one layer, but Toxic is going to be even worse. So, Sableye is not completely useless, though. Like, I'm not going to throw it away, certainly, just because it's Toxic, you
we can still recover up on stuff and be a general annoyance and that sort of thing. Like Electabuzz probably can't kill it easily. Forretress can't kill it easy. You know, I need to keep my spin blocker around, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get the taunt on there, just in case he wanted to do, I don't know, something silly like sub or whatever. I don't think he would do that well burned, but you know, it was probably gonna volt switch, and there wasn't another move I could click except I guess recover to get a few hit points back. But anyway, Gardevoir is in here now, and as I mentioned before, the number one thing I'm kind of fearing here is a Scarf Moonblast, because that destroys a lot of my team, which is one of the main reasons we have Empoleon. And we're going to say Future Sight, which is pretty much going to deconfirm Scarf. And Future Sight's, I don't think we've seen Future Sight like in the history of the league. It's really sweet. Gonna be some combo damage coming in at some point, so we're going to have to play around that. And I got a decision to make here. Do I want to go for just Flash Cannon, which is the obvious move to, you know, go for against something weak to it, or do I want to go for a Scald, because Manaphy is such an easy Empoleon switch, and there's nothing that Empoleon can do to it, whether it's Scarf or not. And then obviously with Scald, just, you know, fishing for the burn. So we already confirmed Trace, so there's not going to be a Synchronize or anything like that. So I'm expecting he probably is going to have T-Bolt, and that's probably what he's going to go for. Focus Blast maybe. So he does stay in, takes the Scald, takes it pretty well, and T-Bolts me down at the Torrent range. Oh my. In game time, I was just laughing my buns off right here. Scarf Empoleon, and like most any other Empoleon probably doesn't care, right? But no, it's a Scarf Empoleon that gets the 10% back. Those is like this is genuine laughter of enjoying the game, guys. Like, I enjoy when crazy random RNG like this just goes awry. So I am entertained right now. I'm just gonna sack off Empoleon. Obviously can't switch moves, and you know, Empoleon is not going to be able to get off a Aqua Jet against Infernape anymore, because it's not going to be slower. It's going to be just a quick Vacuum Wave or Mach Punch away. So anyway, we got to go into somebody here. Calm it down a little bit. Oh man, I'm serious, by the way. Like, this is genuinely, I enjoy when crazy stuff happens, whether it's for me or against me, guys. You gotta roll with RNG and enjoy it if you're gonna enjoy this game. So anyway, Fable's gonna drop in here, and I'm thinking, well, you know, the general mantra throughout the whole season has been, if someone brings Psychic attacks, they're going to bring Psychic, not Psyshock, because, you know, they're going to be aimed at Weezing, right? So it's probably not going to be Psyshock. I am pretty much fully specially defensive Clefable, so I'm just going to go and get Rocks up and see what it wants to do. I believe, because Empoleon died there, I believe at the end of the turn the Future Sight fizzled, so at least we kind of dodged that. I'm presuming Future Sight might have actually been for the intent purposes of Clefable. But he does have Psyshock, and that does over half, and that's not good. We don't have leftovers because we have Kebia Berry, and so that did over half, and I believe that's probably gonna be Modest. It's gonna be my guess, because that did over half to Fable, which had how much? Like 20 defense, not really any much at all. So yeah, we set up Rocks, and I'm trying to think, is there really anything else Fable's gonna be able to do? And I don't really think there is. So unfortunately, Fable's just gonna be Suicide Rocks, and that's pretty much gonna be it. Which, again, I tend to lose Fable early, and Fable just... I don't understand why Fable was in defensive MVP. Like, whatever it is, like, it's never actually been able to stay in and take hits. Like, give me back Blissey, dude. I miss Blissey so much. But anyway, at least we got Rocks up. You know, if nothing else, there's only one user of Stealth Rock on the team, so got Rocks up, so cool. Did what it absolutely needed to do, and we are down in a hole early, but you know what? It's Gardevoir. I freaking love Gardevoir, and I'm as much as unfortunate it is that we got, you know, Power Procs and whatever, it's all good. You know, Gardevoir kicking some butt right now in the finals of the GBA, and I'm kind of a fan of it. It's unfortunate it's happening to me, but I'm a fan of it. So Storm Eagle is here, and we could either Brave Bird, which would be, you know, obvious play, kill it dead, or we could U-turn. I feel like Fori, because Gardevoir has already put in such a massive shift, he promised to keep it around. I still have a Sableye after all. I feel like a go into Fori is pretty likely, so I'm just gonna click U-turn here. If it is Fori, we would then proceed to go into Sableye. If it's something else, we'll go from there. And it all depends on what gets gone into. Infernape, I don't know. There would be no way you'd switch into Infernape. So we're just gonna click U-turn, I believe. As yeah, it'd be nice to get this thing down, but I think we can deal with it decently well and get some decent damage off there with U-turn.
and he stayed in. So I guess we're going to go into Proto Man, and he does T-Bolt. I'm sure he was wishing that he clicked Moonblast, because in that situation, Proto Man was probably the most likely guy to go into. So yeah. But this is kind of cool. We got Gardevoir versus Gallade, so this is pretty sweet. Running a calc here to see if I need to reveal Shadow Sneak, which is super effective, and I don't think I do. I'd also rather not reveal Leaf Blade, because also, again, there's still a chance that Forey does want to come in. But we are Jolly Max, so we will definitely be outspeeding. I'm pretty sure he's modest at this point. At the very worst, he was getting high rolls, and it's a speed tie. So I'm pretty sure Zen Headbutt is gonna be okay to KO it from here. So I believe that's what we're gonna go with. And yep, we're gonna Mega Evolve, get Mega Proto Man up in here, and we barely probably pick up the KO with his Zen Headbutt. So Gardevoir took out 2 of our guys, but at least we do have the Mega off, which is all important, because now that means we're gonna outspeed Electabuzz, we're gonna outspeed Manaphy. So had to get the Mega Evolution off, which has been one of my problems with Mega Gallade all season long. Is like, what am I gonna Mega up on? Conveniently, there were some base 80 guys who I was at least able to speed tie with this week, and that's one of the reasons I felt a little bit safer bringing it. So we got Mega Gallade out on the field, and he's gonna go into this guy. And my only move to really deal decent damage to it is Close Combat. I desperately do not want it to spin, because Fable, bit the dust, and that means I can't set rocks back up. So, and I also can't get rid of hazards on my own. So if he does want to start setting up spikes or anything, I need to at least limit it to 1 layer. I think I'm okay with rocks, but I definitely don't want spikes to be stacked up. And we already took a little bit of damage, well, considerable amount of damage on Mega Gallade, but that's still enough that we can probably live something. So, in comes the Gyro Ball as we switch in here, and yeah, we are now able to block spins, so spin's not going to be gone for. And the question is, do we want to taunt, or do we want to just recover? And I think he's probably, this was what I thought might be the lead matchup, so I think if anything he's going to predict taunt, and thereby just going to Volt Switch. So I'm just going to go and recover and get Sableye back up to life, and we'll kind of see where we can go from there. Now, toxic damage is of course going to rack up, but we might have to pull in and out at some point. And Volt Switch comes, does not too awfully much, of course. It's mostly just for the momentum with Forretress, more so than the damage, but that's very important. Whereas this guy can actually deal a considerable amount of damage. So at least we get that burn damage that I went for on turn 1 coming into play, because this is probably rocking Eviolite, and this isn't a flying resist. So if Raptor has to come in later for Brave Birds, I do need this thing down to round about 40% to pick up the KO. We do have rocks and burn going on right now, so it's getting down there, but so I believe we're just gonna recover again. It's not exactly like he can toxic me again, so just gonna recover back up to full, and he's gonna Volt Switch, and where's it gonna go from here as we get some decent amounts of life, get some life back, and it's gonna go back into Forretress, gets a little bit more rocks damage, and by now toxic is really starting to ramp up. And would have been nice to have that taunt turn 1, but I don't regret it too much, because again, I made the play as if he were the set that was in my mind more of a threat to the team that I brought, so I don't fault it too much, even though it was obviously the wrong play. So here I'm gonna have to reset the toxic damage, as he is unfortunately gonna get some Stealth Rock out of the exchange, and as I said, this was just to reset the toxic counter. And yeah, I know there's not much Forey's going to be able to do to Sableye. At some point I might pop a burn on there, if I get the opportunity to do so. But we're just going to go immediately back into Sableye and keep as much life on Mega Gallade as I can. At this point I can probably take a Scald from Manaphy if it's unboosted, so it's going to be alright. We get down really low, with now taking rocks and toxic damage and the Gyro Ball, but of course Sableye rather slow. There's a thing that you'll see momentarily that I wonder if that factors into Gyro Ball. I'm not sure. Anyway, so we're just going to continue to recover up, and he's Volt Switching around, but again, this is why I really desperately needed to keep rocks up, because I did not want this Volt Switch game to just go completely free. At least he's taking rocks damage, which is neutral. And finally in comes Ape. This is the matchup I wanted. If I ever had this matchup, I knew immediately what I was going to click. And here we go, we're going to trick over the Lagging Tail. So now this Ape that was potentially going to just run train through the team, it's going to be slower than everything. Unfortunately, most of the things I have left kind of outspeeded anyway, so the Lagging Tail play was actually not, that important. But Ape being the one thing immune to Will-O-Wisp on his team, of course,
this was the plan that we had. The secret weapon that was going to be used against the Rock Polished Lando Eye, against this Choice Banded Entei. Finally, it at least gets to go off on the Infernape. And that's why I'm not quite sure how that affects the Gyro Ball calcs, because I was holding a lagging tail that whole time. So, anyway, Protoman's going to outspeed here, and, you know, it's obviously, everything's going to outspeed it because it's got a lagging tail. We can go for a couple of moves here. In case he wants to go into Fori, I think I'm just going to go close combat, because it's going to kill this, and then I think I'm probably going to immediately have to leave and go to other dudes, probably, likely. So, I suppose if I didn't lower my defenses, we might be alright to just stay in Leaf Blade Manaphy, but we're just going to close combat just in case Fori comes in. I don't want to like Leaf Blade, or I want to Leaf Blade Infernape, but I wouldn't want to Zen Headbutt and then Fori comes in and, you know, stuff, because Sableye is now gone. So here's Manaphy. I'm not going to outright lose to Manaphy, because I do have two things that outspeed it and can deal, you know, considerable damage to it. So there is that. But with the defenses lowered, I am not going to be able to stay in. Now I definitely can't take a Scald at 68 HP and -1 stage of Speed Def. So we're going to go into Weezing now, and Weezing, you know, he could set up Tail Glow, but I severely doubt it, as, you know, I would probably potentially be able to do a KO him from there. We'll see. So we're just going to go into Weezing, and he is just going to Scald as expected, and does some decent damage, and you can see here, we disconnect. And we also see there, though, it does not get a burn. And George and I spent literally like an hour trying to get, probably over an hour, trying to get this battle recreated. But finally we were able to do so. I believe we actually got the same exact HP back on Weezing, so that was kind of cool. But all I want to do here is get off Thunderbolt, and then hopefully from there, you know, I don't really know what his defenses are going to be just yet, because I haven't hit him yet. We did see Leftovers, so there's a good chance he's got some bulk, but I don't necessarily know in what areas. So we're just going to get a T-Bolt on here, and it's really all I need Weezing for right now, is I need a little bit of chip damage on there, and then everyone else is going to be able to outspeed and do something. So get some damage on there, and that's honestly about all I could ask for out of him. So that's all I'm going to ask for out of him. Obviously, any move. Got the voice cracks kicking up high notch now, boys. Scald's gonna KO. Probably even Ice Beam would KO, but anyway. Shout out to George, by the way. We freaking had a bonding experience, like spending an hour getting this thing recreated through his university Wi-Fi and everything, cutting out, and then, you know, random extra crits and everything that we had to redo. We probably had to replay this match like upwards of 10, 15 times, so it was pretty great. But anyway, so we're gonna drop in Gallade here, and now we're back, you know, to live after about an hour. So thought processes, you know, we've seen the same moves over and over again, and finally we're at new stuff. So Leaf Blade's gonna do ever so slightly more. I don't quite know, you know, it seems like he's at least got a considerable amount of HP. Leaf Blade could crit if it, you know, I got a high crit rate move. That's what we're gonna go for, and doesn't do nearly enough. And really, as soon as Gallade did not pick up this KO, I felt like it's probably over. I guess I could have used Zen Headbutt to go for the 20% flinch and try to get, you know, a tandem off, but then, you know, that has a 10% chance to miss, and, you know, there's that. So Leaf Blade's got the high crit rate anyway, which is what, like 12-ish%, whereas factoring in the miss would be like about 18% to get the flinch with the thing. I don't know. Doesn't, you know, you can't really say much of it anyway. You know, it's going for hacks one way or the other, but Raptor's gonna pick up one final KO here, and if we get, can we get a crit? If we can get a crit, we don't get a crit. But if we had gotten a crit, then I think we actually had enough HP left to sweep the remaining things on the team, the Electabuzz and the Beedrill. But that will be the game. Raptor, we have a 5% chance to win there at the end on a crit. But of course we don't get it, nor would we expect to get it. Nor would it probably be good for a lot of people who would have an aneurysm if we won the league based on a last turn Staraptor crit. And it actually might have ended up being a double down on the last one, which I think goes to the poke that did the damage, and, you know, like it would have gone to us if it was Staraptor had went down. But yeah, that's how it ends up, and good game to George. Alright, so that will do it. Probably not the most expertly played or cleanest game that either side has had over the course of the season, but I would at least say it was worthy
of a championship game. Hope you guys enjoyed. I certainly enjoyed playing it, although the recreation was certainly a pain in the buns to get back. It took us 60 some odd minutes and 10 to 15 retries, replays of those first however many turns up to where the wheezing switched in on the Manaphy. And but we were able to do it. We got it back to where it needed to be, as deserving of the finals of the GBA. And we got it back on Wi-Fi. We didn't even consider moving to Showdown or anything like that. And took a long time, but again, it was a great bonding experience trying to get it back to where it was. And indeed we did. So well worth the effort. Well worth the effort, I think. And yeah, because even though at the time of the disconnect, I was pretty sure it was heavily in his favor, like something crazy was gonna have to happen to win. Go figure. On the last turn of the game, 1 in 16 chance of Raptor gets a crit. I am pretty sure that we've got enough HP to actually Brave Bird everything and actually win the game from there. But again, that's on a 6.25% chance crit, and people would have been really upset if that had happened. So maybe it's better that it didn't. But anyway, if it happened, it happened. If it didn't happen, then it didn't happen, and that's pretty much how we roll with things. Napoleon got paralyzed early. Whatever, it's Pokemon. That's what happens. Crazy RNG stuff goes awry, and I just roll with it and enjoy it for what it is. Every game for what it is, and try to never get flustered or panic or anything like that. Keep calm, cool, and collected, and just play the turns you're given. So that's pretty much it, and that's pretty much what we did in this game. So I don't really have any regrets, except maybe going with the 55 Will-O-Wisp or with a 45 Taunt on the first turn. But that'll actually lead us into our Pokemon of the game, which there's not really a great one, so screw it. I'm giving it to Sableye because he probably had similar to Gliscor in the game against Tup. He kind of had to overcome some adversity in this game, getting Toxic in the first turn, and which was pretty much a death knell. But we were able to bounce around and keep the recovery going on, reset the Toxic counter with the switch, and was just able to. There was a lot of volt switching going on there in the middle of the game, and because we had Rocks up, which was the main reason for putting Rocks up again, I couldn't just let that volt switch go on for free. Was able to wear down Electabuzz. Would have been nice to obviously wear down Forretress some more, getting it in KO range for Raptor, but he was played very smart with that. Hard switched out to avoid the burn possibility on one of the turns, I noticed. So making sure Forretress was able to at least live one hit from Raptor or Mega Gallade. So smart preservation of HP on his part. And then finally we were able to trick the Lagging Tail on somebody. It wasn't Lando I, it wasn't CB Inte, but it was a Life Orb Infernape, which was probably, any Southern Infernape's gonna be scary for this team we had, but it was just nice to be able to take out the Infernape and the Manaphy, two of the biggest threats. We were at least able to take those two out, so that was pretty great. Just love this game overall. We had Sableye, we had Gallade, we had Gardevoir, a lot of my favorite pokes appearing in this game. Sceptile not brought that. I guess that kind of slots in as my number 2. It's technically Grovyle, but it's SceptileMC, so that counts, right? So it was just a great finals game, being able to see all these favorite pokes of mine doing some work and doing some good stuff. So that's pretty much that. Make sure, of course, to leave your comments below with, I guess don't comment too much about the season as a whole yet. You can comment whatever the carp you want, but in this game, what sets would you have brought? What plays would you have made differently? This is the last game of the season, of course, so we can, at this point we can theory mon it all we want. There's not really a next week that we got to get ready for. So have some fun with this one in the comments certainly, and definitely go over to George's side as well. As congratulations, of course, to him being your GBA Season 6 champion, San Francisco Arcaniners. Make sure to go over to his video and show him some support. Congratulate him, of course. And has now started like a trend going on where Season 4 A-Drive makes the finals, loses. Season 5 makes the finals again, wins. And of course George was the runner-up in Season 5, and now Season 6 has made it back and won. So certainly no accident there, and hopefully we'll be able to keep this little chain going, make it back into the finals, and win in Season 7. But that will be
on Sun and Moon, as you know, most of you probably figured out by now, will likely not be starting until January or so. There's, you know, it's gonna be a fun off season. I'm really looking forward to it. We got a new generation for the first time in the GBA. You know, we've had 6 seasons now over 3 years, 2 on XY, 4 on Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, and you know, we're moving into a new game. There might be some new game mechanics. There's going to be new Pokemon to draft. Like, what are we going to do with the what's the name of Oricolio, the dancing bird thing? Like, how is that going to be split up? The Alola forms, lots of crazy stuff to figure out, and we're definitely going to need a little bit of time for that. Plus, you know, Season 5 had the problem of the holiday break, kind of really killed the momentum for that one. So you can definitely look forward to Season 7. We'll probably be starting up sometime in January. So the GBA channel is probably going to be pretty dormant. There's not going to be a D-League. Some people have asked if there's going to be a D-League. There's probably never going to be a D-League again. Maybe, but probably not. And definitely there hasn't been anything planned officially for this off-season up until Sun and Moon. So, but once Sun and Moon does release, you know, do keep your eyes on the GBA channel. Again, it's probably going to go dormant for the next couple of months. But after Sun and Moon's release, I'm sure there'll be some stuff. We're still hashing out how exactly it's going to be. We still need some of the details on, you know, how many new Pokemon are going to be in Sun and Moon, etc. But I'm sure there'll be something done shortly after the Sun and Moon release to, you know, to get in on that hype, test some of these Pokemon out that are going to be newly released and all that good stuff. So that'll be that. If you're mostly here on the channel for GBA stuff, then I probably got nothing for you until November 18th, which coincidentally happens to be Cooper's birthday, so that's kind of cool. Nintendo likes to release cool stuff on my birthday, and that they have chosen to do that again. So, yeah, if you're just here for GBA, that's cool. See you back here sometime in late November, early December for whatever sorts of fun stuff GBA does, and then back for the full Season 7 in January. We will of course be returning for that, and yeah, up until then there will be, next week we will have our team awards and kind of season recap thing going on. I don't know if I'm gonna put quite the ridiculous effort into it that I did into the Season 2 version, because that video took like at least 2 or 3 full days to make. It was ridiculous, but we will definitely have, you know, the final stats will be shown. We'll hand out the team awards. I know there was a GBA like league-wide team awards, but I think our team awards are going to be way more awesome because we're going to have stats in ours. So you're going to see some stats to back up the MVPs and all the other stuff we did that we haven't gotten really to do since Season 2, but it's a long off season, so it's not like there's a quick turnaround in the next season. I'm also not, you know, not super burnt out on the game like I was at the end of, I guess at the end of Season 4 was the only other time when we could have done one, so. I also didn't have Infernape at the end of Season 4, so that was probably the main reason we didn't do one at the end of Season 4. And then at the end of Season 3, we were already getting set up for Season 4, so yeah, this is really the first opportunity I've had to do one, so. If you do, you know, if you went back, or if you've been with me long enough to enjoy that Season 2 video, we'll have something maybe somewhat similar. We'll talk about each of the games and go over that and go over our team, and so yeah, so save the you know, the season long, you know, comments, I guess, if you want to for that. And we'll say we'll have one more video for Season 6 coming up. It'll probably be next week, not this week, because yeah, I want to make it be pretty cool. So that'll be that. And it's gonna be a long off season, but it's gonna be a long wait until Sun and Moon. But you know, I'm sure we'll still get gradual information. You know, we don't even know if there's gonna be megas for one thing. That's gonna change up the draft structure considerably. So that'll pretty much do it. I will see you guys next week for one more video. We're gonna wrap up the season, talk about it. You know, talk about the members of the teams. You know, would I draft them again? You know, that sort of thing. It's probably going to be hour and a half long, knowing Cooper. So that has been that. Once again, congratulations to George. Go and show him a lot of support for being your Season 6 GBA champion. And yeah, we'll see you guys for possibly some D&D that's going to start getting spam uploaded on this channel. So if you're subscribed, you need to click unsubscribe for one thing, because I'm about to flood your sub boxes with D&D stuff that you may or may not want to see. But it is an awesome D&D campaign. There's some amazing episodes going to be coming up soon, so if you're at all
interested in D&D, I definitely recommend watching it. So, Blah's in it. I feel like the Red Sox, Super Blah's in it. So, there's that. Speaking of D&D, we might have as an off-season activity, no D-League, but we might have some D&D, Dungeons and Dragonites going on. That's details of that still being worked out. Might be a kind of a short campaign to tide us over, with a couple of GBA coaches and maybe some close associates, etc. Myself and Super Blah being notably the probable co-DMs, so that's gonna be maybe a thing that happens. But if not, I'll see you guys sometime later this year in early December or January for sure, with some Sun and Moon GBA Season 7. Utah Jasmine will be back. Later days.